Is your day going well? Welcome to the Why Is That So? Podcast series, which often begins with why questions based on first principle thinking. This approach offers you diverse perspectives on various life issues, helping you cultivate a truly resilient spirit. Join us for this episode. What kind of language do young people speak these days? I just don't get it. That was a complaint from a boss about an employee casually exclaiming, "Oh, skip that sh*T." Right in the middle of a meeting, after the team had been discussing economic recession, inflation, slow cash flow, and the company's risk of bankruptcy. Then there was the story of a medical intern announcing to the doctor, "Doctor, this case isn't wow enough yet," when talking about patients with only clinical symptoms. Or the project assistant who made boba fruit juice as a gift for their boss. And countless other absurd, laugh-cry situations, like the Witty Generation deep-frying offerings on a full moon day, or trending phrases all over the internet such as, "The 3-generation noodle shop is about to open." I am the Witty Generation, and also the first generation. Have you ever encountered these things in a friend, a colleague, or even yourself? When we can't change our circumstances, we use laughter to heal our wounds. We use humor to maintain calm in moments of panic, transforming seemingly heavy issues into stories that are easier to tell, easier to listen to, and more comfortable. So, what exactly lies behind these witty jokes? Is it indifference or a defense mechanism? Is it shallowness or an effort to adapt? Is the Witty Generation carefree and unserious, or is this actually the art of survival in an era filled with anxieties? Today, let's join Why Is That So? To break down the stereotypes about the Witty Generation and understand why we need to view their humor with a more open and empathetic eye. Let's begin. The term caught NHA, witty irreverence, was originally defined as lighthearted teasing, joking, or sarcasm in the face of serious issues. However, today, the phrase, the Witty Generation, has been redefined by young people, especially Gen Z, in a completely different, more positive, creative, and profound way. It's a style of communication, work, and problem-solving that is free-spirited, humorous, and sometimes a bit sarcastic, aiming to relieve pressure, inject a light and playful breeze into life's stresses. According to a 2023 McKinsey survey, over 72% of Gen Z often feel stressed because they constantly need to update their knowledge to avoid falling behind in an ever-moving world. The younger generation doesn't shy away from contemporary issues, but also doesn't let themselves be drowned in anxiety. Instead, they choose to turn pressure into motivation, approaching everything with humor and a satirical flair, challenging old norms with linguistic grace and subtle expression. Behind the laughter lies a yearning for personal freedom, a desire to express their unique individuality, not merely constrained by rigid molds or standards. On social media platforms like TikTok and Facebook, videos about the Witty Generation have become a trend, leading to the creation of groups like the Witty Generation at Work, with tens of thousands of members, or playful conversations like "still picking B?", a reference to a common Vietnamese phrase meaning, "Are you still struggling with something? Had dinner yet, beautiful? Not enough, wow yet?" Or seriously, brain rot. Simply applying the formula, the Witty Generation plus doing something, can generate millions of views and viral content on social media. These seemingly casual remarks are a strong affirmation of the young generation's new identity-distinctive personalities, ready to transform all pressures into laughter. Humankind has one really effective weapon, and that is laughter. Mark Twain once said that, and I bet if he lived in this era, that brilliant writer would witness an entire generation turning laughter into a lifestyle. According to Pure Research statistics, 74% of young people believe that using laughter helps them reduce stress. Therefore, they tend to turn negative things into jokes. For Gen Z, laughter is sometimes not just an expression of joy, but a way for them to heal themselves and soothe emotional wounds. In psychology, humor is considered a defense mechanism, helping people mitigate negative emotions, cope with trauma, and prevent the mind from being paralyzed by crises. When people cannot change reality, a defense mechanism is activated as a passive but brave form of resistance to protect the ego from anxiety. According to George Vaillant, a psychiatrist and professor at Harvard Medical School, renowned for over 30 years of research on defense mechanisms, humor helps individuals navigate negative emotions and confront adversity without losing themselves. He categorized humor into the mature defenses group, which are positive, mature defense mechanisms that help individuals not avoid reality, but accept and adjust to it with inner strength and optimism. Especially for Gen Z, who were born into a global society constantly changing due to environmental crises, economic instability, and pandemics, humor is not just a choice, but a method of survival. Gen Z uses laughter to diffuse deadlines, stress, and workplace pressures, lightening tense meetings or endless overtime. Research from Deloitte in 2024 shows that over 65% of Gen Z believe that an open and comfortable work environment makes them more productive and more likely to stay long-term. They work smartly, flexibly, and joyfully, but that has never meant a lack of seriousness. On the contrary, behind their freedom and spontaneity lies a solid sense of responsibility and resilient inner strength that outsiders sometimes struggle to see. Witty irreverence does not reduce productivity, but plays a role in sustaining motivation to work better. Gen Z understands difficulties, but instead of letting pressure weigh them down, they choose to face it with laughter. They are not irresponsible, but also don't want to make life overly burdensome. They might seem flippant about work or joke about their debts, but they always persevere, working step by step to earn money, manage their finances, and seek opportunities for growth. It's undeniable that in an era where everything can become content, witty irreverence is sometimes a way to exist in such an information-saturated media environment. Creating witty, easily shareable content is a strategy Gen Z individuals use as a stylized form of messaging to fit a new popular culture where everything needs to be quick, concise, memorable, and highly entertaining. This demonstrates linguistic flexibility, visual thinking, and the ability to transform everyday experiences into community culture. One could say that Phuong Thai Viet, a recent TikTok phenomenon, is a typical and vibrant representative of a young generation with a witty yet profound spirit. Phuong is a Gen Z girl who is not afraid to express her strong personality in an office environment, which was once implicitly understood to require seriousness and strict hierarchy. She dares to say what others don't, dares to challenge her boss when necessary, isn't afraid to borrow money from her boss, and even postpones debts from delivery people to street vendors. These actions might initially seem defiant, but if we look closer, we can see that they are a humorous facade for a young person who has a very clear understanding of herself and her circumstances. Hidden beneath her mischievous attitude and laugh-cry situations is a girl who always completes her assigned tasks meticulously, actively seeks feedback, and is eager to learn qualities any recruiter would highly value. Furthermore, despite life's many difficulties, Phuong constantly strives to earn money to help her parents repay debts and cover tuition fees. Behind the laughter and jokes is a generation finding its own way to live decently in an increasingly complex, precarious, and contradictory world. Instead of giving up, they choose to face reality with wit, turning worries into optimism and pressures into content, transforming confusion into laughter to prevent themselves from falling. A question that needs to be asked is witty irreverence exclusive to Gen Z? Witty irreverence is not a generational privilege. Regardless of the era, people have always sought laughter as a way to express their individuality, engage with reality, and subtly yet profoundly resist societal pressures. Throughout history, there have been timeless comedic figures like Trang Quinn, a witty and clever commoner who used intelligence and humor to mock the powerful and expose injustice in feudal society, or folk literature characters who used humor, sometimes even arrogance, to expose wrongdoing and affirm the dignity of ordinary people. They are vibrant symbols of a deep, witty irreverence, where laughter is not used to avoid reality, but to confront and expose society's painful issues with intellect and courage. Beyond literature, comedy shows across decades from traditional theater, film to modern television like Gap En Hao Koi Nam, Year-End Gathering, Enjoy Kao De Roy, Thank God You're Here, Hoi and Go Dan Hai, Comedian Reunion have always served as a mirror reflecting the times. In these, laughter is not just for entertainment, but also to question, warn, and uplift the human spirit. Therefore, today's witty generation is not a rebellion or a temporary impulsiveness, but a continuation of a line of thought where humor always accompanies wisdom and courage. This laughter, from one generation to the next, is an underground current of freedom, a desire to be present and express one's unique personality and colors in this vast world. However, the difference lies in the perception of the era, the method of expression, and the speed of dissemination. Living in an age of high-tech internet connectivity, Gen Z uses memes, short videos, and satirical comments to convey multi-layered messages about the witty generation, multiplying laughter millions of times in just a few hours. This generation continues to connect humor with linguistic creativity on new platforms, while steadfastly maintaining the spirit of choosing laughter to live authentically, to question, and to love. A joke to reassure oneself amidst pressure. An impromptu meme to alleviate stress. A witty comment to soothe sorrows. These can all be methods to help people heal themselves, release tension, and connect with their community. So, is witty irreverence a bad thing, and what are its limits? We must admit that while humor possesses the power to connect and heal, it is not an absolute passport for all situations. Laughter is truly a plus when it is used at the right time, in the right place, in the right context, and with the right audience. Today, as the phrase, the witty generation, becomes popular on social media, it seems to be drifting away from its original meaning and becoming a double-edged sword in daily communication and conduct, especially in a professional work environment. An overly casual, witty communication style can easily lead to misunderstandings. A seemingly harmless witty joke can become unprofessional in the workplace, making colleagues feel disrespected, losing partners' trust, and even becoming a barrier that makes us lose opportunities to demonstrate our value. Not only that, when witty irreverence turns into cynical, hurtful sarcasm, mocking the pain of others, or exploiting social prejudices to inflict harm, that laughter unwittingly becomes a form of irresponsibility or insensitivity, even insult and injury to others. The problem does not lie in the nature of witty irreverence itself, but in the attitude, purpose, and target audience. Boundaries are not barriers, but signs of emotional and intellectual maturity. When a person knows how to place laughter appropriately, without hurting others or overshadowing their own value, humor then is not only an expression of sophistication, but also a testament to the distinct personality and courage of a generation that dares to live authentically while respecting the world around them. It's time we adopt a more tolerant view of Gen Z amidst countless conflicting opinions. Gen Z has often been labeled with prejudices, accused of being flippant, unserious, or living more in the virtual world than in reality. However, we cannot, because of these skewed expressions, equate all witty irreverence with negativity and underestimate the depth of this generation's thinking. Gen Z's strong individuality, need for self-expression, and critical thinking ability are values that deserve to be recognized with openness and respect. The witty irreverence that Gen Z displays, when viewed fairly, can be a new form of courage to break free from confining expectations and to heal the soul in a society full of pressure. In an era when people face so many invisible anxieties, when psychological distress is more prevalent than ever, allowing young people to be consciously, within limits, irreverent is also a way to acknowledge that everyone has the right to express themselves and seek mental resilience in their own way. A tolerant view does not demand agreement with every way Gen Z expresses themselves, but rather, it means listening before judging, understanding the context before forming opinions, and seeing the essence instead of just the surface. When young people feel respected and understood, they will not only perform better, but will also become future builders with their unique creativity and profound inner strength. My dear listener, witty irreverence, when placed in the right context and upheld with respect for others, is a part of emotional self-regulation, laughter that carries healing power for oneself, ensuring laughter does not become a double-edged sword. Everyone, especially young people growing up in the digital age, needs to learn how to regulate and master their expressions. Why is that so? Believes that humor, combined with mindfulness and empathy, always has a place in the journey of asserting the identity of any generation.